All right. Yes, we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Nomsa, and I'm very excited to be coming into your space right now through this live. Just coming to continue to encourage one another because the journey of self-discovery, the journey of healing of the emotional wounds that we have, is not a one-day thing. It's a thing that takes it's a process that takes a long time, and it takes a lot of commitment on your part. So as you can see from the title, if you are somebody, you are this woman who is doubting your value, you are this woman who is not so sure, about how to go through the process of rebuilding your confidence, and also, how to come through and show yourself, not for other people, but for your own personal validation, as a very strong person, a person who can persevere, a person who can go through all the pain, all the challenge, and be able to come out on the other side as somebody who is strong and can carry the responsibilities of life. Because one of the things that we need to understand is that with freedom comes also a lot of responsibility. So as you go through this journey of setting yourself free of previous hurts, of previous pain, of things that have not gone wrong in your life, it's important, for you to also realize that you've got to be a responsible person. Be responsible for your own emotional state. Be responsible and take the necessary steps, because it's not going to happen on its own. It's going to take you making the initiative, to be able to go through all the pain. So a lot of us have been trying to do this by ourselves, and I think it's important at this juncture of our journey, as we are going through together, whether you are joining my lives for the first time on this subject, or we've been walking this journey together. It's important for us to realize that within ourselves and in our own strength, we cannot be able to carry the burden. We cannot be able, to even rise above the ashes of what was supposed to be the best lives that we had. So for you to rise above the ashes is to acknowledge, your own humanness, your own weakness as a human being, to say, as a person, really on my own, I cannot be able to pull through, but with divine help, with divine, intervention, I can be able to make it through. Because that's one of the things that I have realized over the years, to say, I've gone through phases of transforming myself, phases of self-introspection, trying to grow and rise above all the negative things that I've been experiencing, I had experienced in my life. But one of the challenges that I met was, as long as on that journey I am walking alone and I am not inviting God to come along with me and be the one who does the healing for me, it becomes very, very difficult. We can have all the theories that we want, or that we can get access to. But what is important, hi Hannibal, my mkwasha there, oh, it's nice to see you. All right. So, it's very important for us to realize that on our own, we cannot be able to carry the burden. On our own, we will not be able, to overcome the challenges that we face. We need to be able to tap on that strength which can only be found, in the Creator Himself. So he in the Bible, it says, that He heals the brokenhearted and binds their wounds. So, in other words, what you need to do before you begin the journey of spiritual healing is for you to understand that as a human being, you cannot be able to manage it by yourself. Acknowledge that and invite God to be, part of the process. In fact, to be the key of the process. But the good thing about it is that God does not force himself on us. He asks us, he wants us to invite him into our lives. And when you take that active position or that active stance of inviting him into your life, he will definitely provide all that you need, because he says, cast all your cares upon me and I will, he will take care of us. He promises that. He says, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And unless we acknowledge our humanness, unless we acknowledge that, the only way that we can come out of the pain that we are in is to invite God to be to hold our hand, to be the one who gives us the strength to be able to think differently. Because for a person, who has been mistreated, a person who has been battered and abused, a person who has been undervalued, a person who has been minimized, it's so easy to come across as a victim. But one of the things that I really, really want to urge somebody who is trying to come out of a situation like that, if you are trying to come out of a situation like that, do not be a victim, but take control of the situation. How do you take control of the situation? By being intentional in what you do, right? Actively inviting God to be part of the process, actively looking for information, that will help you to know where is it that I am feeling all this depression. Where is it that all this negativity, is where is it centered in my life? Because once somebody who has experienced all that, they will need, they will come out of all those, negative experiences with shame, where you maybe a rape victim, for example, will be feeling unworthy because of the shame that they carry as a result of the experience that they have gone through. Or they are so angry at the world that it doesn't matter who it is, without them realizing they are in fighting mode all the time. Even for people who are coming out and stretching a hand of assistance, or somebody who is genuinely wanting to be, kind and loving and being in a friendship or any kind of relationship with them, they find themselves being, repelling people away from them because they are in fighting mood all the time as a result of the anger that they've got welled up inside of them. Also bitterness, where the heart cannot be soft enough to accept somebody else, who is coming and wanting, to be a part of their lives. So each time somebody tries to be, kind, or to show that they care for them, this, a person who has been through, all these mistreatments that I'm talking about, is going to come out bitter and angry and repulsive of anybody else who comes into their space, or untrusting. They don't have trust anymore. They've got trust issues. Even, when they find someone who is really genuine in terms of showing them that they care for them, they still have suspicions. They feel that the world is conspiring. You feel that the world is conspiring against you. It's like there's always a conspiracy against you that is going on. So as a result, that lack of trust comes across to people as a certain level of vibration that repels them or pushes them away from you. And then also, doubt. Doubting yourself. For me, that was one of my biggest areas, when I was going through. And I'm still, it doesn't mean that as I am sharing with you here, I have overcome all these challenges. I'm still working on them, but I am not where I used to be because of the deliberate journey that I decided to take. All right. So for me, shame to some degree, yes, I carried that. Anger and bitterness were definitely a very major part of how I interacted or projected myself in the world. And then the issue of doubt and insecurity as well, where you feel you cannot trust anyone. People will let you down no matter how much you try to trust them. All those things come into play as well. Doubting myself, and it really was something that was now in reflection, and I look at some of the incidences that happened in my life, and I would be like, wow, really, my emotional, or my spirit was really, battered and bruised. I remember I was in high school at the time, and there was at any school there is this guy who is every girl's heartthrob, in every girl's crush, right? And we there was this young man at our school who was every girl was like, oh, if I could be his girlfriend, or if he could be my something to that effect, right? We all know that as young people go through those phases. And for me, I did get into that phase, but not with a positive mindset as such. Much as I was like all the other girls, thinking, wow, that guy is amazing. If he could be my boyfriend, or if he could be interested in me. But when he did actually, not that he wanted anything romantic with me or anything like that, but he expressed, just an acknowledgement of a feature that he admired in me, right? He came to me, one day. I remember we're in the corridors, moving from one subject to another. So we had to move classrooms for that. And he came to me and he was like, you know what, Nomsa, we are not in the same class. We were not in the same class, right? He says, I've been watching you from a distance. And one thing I like about you, I really think you've got a beautiful smile. You've got an amazing smile. And I was like, I was taken aback, and I was like, really? Because I grew up, being told about how ugly I was because of my dark skin, that I would not amount to anything, because of, somebody just deciding as an adult who was supposed to protect me, deciding to be an antagonist against me, because of course, there was the politics that was going on in the home and everything else, but there was no justification for them to be projecting that on me over and over again, to a point where I started doubting myself. I remember that day, I did not go to the next lesson. I actually went into the girls' bathroom, and I closed myself into one of the cubicles there, and I wept. I cried and cried and cried. Why was I crying instead of feeling reinforced or encouraged and strengthened by somebody whom all the girls were crushing over, coming over to me and saying, I admire your smile, I think you are beautiful, and things like that. And you know why I was crying? I was crying because I was like, how can he make fun of me like that? A person as ugly as I am, this guy knows he knew it. Every girl is crushing over him. And now he has the audacity to come and insult me by telling me, that. That's how broken I was at the time. And I was only a teenager at the time. But you see, we carry all this impression of ourselves into our adulthood. And in every relationship that we are in, we then reflect that. And as a result, we cannot be, in any healthy relationships whatsoever. So you need to understand that about yourself. I came to that realization. It was an incident that I really never had a time to reflect over and think about as time went on. It was just an experience that I went through, and I shelved it at the back of my mind. But later on, as I was going through the process of actually deliberately looking at how wounded I was, because unless you understand how wounded you are, you will never know the level of treatment that you need. Right? How much treatment do you need for you to be able to deal with the depth of wounds that you have? So all those are things that we need to understand about ourselves. The fear, the guilt, the insecurity, the doubt, the bitterness, the anger. All of these are negative things that we carry with ourselves, such that it doesn't matter how much material success we have. We are not happy. We are not joyful. A person who carries all this and does not deal with it, they become a person, who cannot enjoy. It doesn't matter how positive the environment they are in. They are always looking for something that they can blame, so that they can feel inferior again. That's just how the game plays out. And on our own, guys, we cannot be able to overcome all those kind of feelings. We need a God who understands the depth of our experiences. he who incarnated himself to walk this journey of being a human being, and yet he was God who has infinite wisdom, infinite understanding. He is the only person who can touch us to that level. He's the only person who can reach out to us and tell us through his word how much or how precious we are. But we have got to allow him in. We have got to let him in. Much as we may have brothers, much as we may have sisters, much as we may have friends, who can hold our hands on this journey. But the most important presence that we need is to have God as the center of the healing process that we are going through. It will require a lot of prayer. It's not a process that will happen overnight. It's a process that takes time. It's a process that will require you to really be honest and upfront with yourself. And thank you so much, Zah. All right. It's something that we really need to come to terms with and say, oh wow, this is how wounded I am. This is how deep the whole process goes in, and allow the hand of God to touch us at that level, and be honest and vulnerable and pray. And when we are praying, it's not superficial prayers where we are saying, take care of us, give us food for the day and things like that. It needs honest. There is nothing that God doesn't know about us. But when we express it with our own mouths, we are now acknowledging that, wow, now I understand. This is why I am where I am. Now by expressing it out to say, you know what, Lord, I am angry. I am angry because of this and this and this that happened to me, or I am angry at everybody now because of some people have let me down even as recently as yesterday. People have let me down in the past. People will continue to let you down. But how do you carry your joy with you? It's only as you are allowing God to be a major part of your life. That is how the whole process is going to be. And be prepared for the pain of healing. Right? It may sound contradictory there. There is pain in healing. You've got to allow yourself to go through again that pain, because in order for a wound to be healed, the doctor or the nurse has to remove the scab and go in there and take out the pus that is accumulated in there. And unless you allow yourself to go through that process of being opened up all over again, facing those painful experiences, and walking through the journey of coming out on the other side. When David the shepherd says, even though I go through the valley, right? So in other words, you are not, the intention of opening you up, or the intention of examining your life to that depth of examination, is not so that you stay there, but it is so that you walk through to the other side. So that is what we need to understand, to say, even though I will go through this painful experience, the only way for healing to happen is for me to go through the pain. Go through the pain, allow yourself to be opened up, allow yourself, for the Spirit of God to examine you, and allow Him to point out your weaknesses. Right? And in those areas of weakness, we are not saying dwell on them for the purpose of beating yourself up to say, wow, so this is the kind of person that I am. This is how low I am. It is for purposes of lifting you up and realizing what are the special qualities that have come out of you as a result of the experiences that you have had. Because it's not all negative. But guess what? Because the enemy wants us to focus on what is negative, we will never be able to see the goodness that was supposed to come out of those experiences. Because I always say, doesn't matter how painful a past you have had, you needed to go through that in order for you to become the person that you are supposed to become. The challenge is that instead of us allowing those painful experiences to grow us, make us even gentler, make us even kinder, make us even more compassionate, more empathetic towards others, it hardens us instead. That is not God's intention when He allows the trials of life to come our way. He is allowing them so that we can be transformed into the people who will be the gentle, who will be the kind, who will be the empathetic, empathetic, who will be the patient, individuals that he wants us to be, so that we can carry others through the process as well, who may be going through the challenges that we are in, or they may be going through totally different challenges altogether. But because we are empathetic individuals, because we have allowed the pain of challenge, we have allowed the challenges that we have gone through to mold us into the gentle and kind persons that God wants us to be. That is the only way we can be useful in the vessel. Useful vessels for God. So in other words, He is the potter, we are the clay in His hands. So whatever painful situations you've gone through, don't allow the bitterness to linger with you. Don't allow the bitterness, because God intended it for good. Think of the story of Joseph when he was in Egypt. In all things that he was doing, he allowed the gentle spirit of God to reign supreme in his heart. So as a result, in all the things that he was doing, he was empathetic even to those who were hurting him. Right? So in other words, as we are going through the challenges, once you rid yourself of all this excess baggage that you are carrying from your past, and now you are clean, and now the Spirit of God has washed through you, and now you are able, whatever challenges are going to come into the future now, you are going to handle them the way that a victorious child of God is going to handle them. So let's deal with that past. Let's not hide it. Let's not pretend it doesn't exist, because it does exist. And when it does exist, unless we face it and clean it up and allow the Spirit of God to cleanse us and to purify us, we will not be able to go through. All right. So yes, that was the lesson for us today, guys. Whatever it is that we are carrying as excess baggage, whatever it is, it could be experiences that we are going through right now in our various relationships, in our various challenges, that we are facing on a daily basis. Unless we allow the Spirit of God to lead us, unless we are prayerful and committing our lives into His hands, unless we are people who are reading the Word and getting the affirmation that we need for Him to, who is able to tell us how much unconditionally He loves us, we are going to be people who are ineffective in our lives. So we need to be effective individuals. We want to be people who impact the world for the positive. Everything that is negative that has happened to us, we're supposed to receive it with both hands and say, Lord, teach me the lessons that I'm supposed to learn. Now, because we did not allow the Spirit of God to work in that way, we now have to go back, revisit those wounds, have the scabs removed, have the tonic that will remove the pus from the wound to be applied in order for us to understand and to grasp the lesson. And once we have grasped that lesson, as we will face the challenges of the future as better individuals than what we are right now. So may God bless you as you walk through the journey. One thing that I would like you, like to ask of you, is to leave your comments below this video. Invite someone or tag someone who you believe needs this as well. And for you, maybe you could be that one person, who is going through a lot of pain right now, a lot of challenge, or you are trying to rebuild and reconstruct your life such that you are not getting by, but you are really, really enjoying life to the full from where you are, and you really want to start this journey of recovery, this journey of restoration. You are free to reach out to me and let me know, in an inbox message that Nomsa, get in touch with me. Let's talk about this. How do I embark on this journey? I'm here to hold your hand, because I haven't come out of all the valleys or all the experiences or all the challenges that I have faced in my life. But the experience that I have had so far has taught me that I can be able to strengthen someone else as well. I can be able to hold somebody's hand as well. So yes, message me. You don't have to type it here at the bottom of the video, but definitely message me directly and we can go through the journey together. I'm not a professional counselor at all, but I am someone who has gone through the experience, and I could be able, to be there and walk the journey with you. All right. Thank you so much. God bless you and have a beautiful day.